no matter what I make, generally starts with a sketch. In this case, it's a very rough sketch. The boards, there were 8 boards. They started off 10 foot long and about 10 inches wide and about 2 inches thick. I planed them down a little bit just to see what they look like. Here I am making the sides for the legs. The legs are going to be laminated, and this is some cypress that came from an old grain tower, beveling both lengths of the legs, which ultimately will form the 4 sides of each of the legs. The legs are 5 inches square. The core of the legs is actually 2 pieces of 2x4, which is then sandwiched with a piece of ply, 3/4 inch ply. This gives some rigidity and also makes the wood more structurally sound. Here I'm actually making those legs. I start by doing the opposite sides, gluing them together. Let that dry, and then I glue the other 2 sides together. And what you end up with is a very nice leg, which looks like it's solid but actually is made up of a laminate sandwich. Just removing the corners here with a 1/2 inch round over bit. Preparing the tabletop to be jointed. I'm preparing those lengths off camera right now. They have to have a notch cut out to go over that ledge. Ledge is just glued and screwed. The client wanted this table to be able to be dismantled completely, so the legs, the base and the top all come apart, and the top's actually in 2 pieces. Just marking where that notch comes. And there you can see the rails, the stretchers being glued in place. So here I'm using dominoes to secure the 2 halves of the table together. Dominoes don't do anything really other than offer alignment. They certainly don't offer any additional strength. And as you can see, I use pretty much every clamp I have. Here I'm filling large voids with some epoxy. This is a scrub plane, which is a very aggressive plane in removing chunks of wood. This is the underside of the table, and I needed to get it as flat as possible. Those wood chips that are coming off are about 1/8 of an inch thick, so it's a very aggressive plane. but it was taking way too much time to do this. So I then pulled out the electrical planer. Far more aggressive, but also generates an awful amount of dust. And that hose lasted about 2 seconds before it fell off. It's important when you're using a planer like this is not to run over your cord. Ask me how I know this. So here I'm just trying to get the center of those two boards reasonably flat. They don't have to be perfect. This is the underside of the table. And I'm just going to get rid of those little bit of manky wood on the corners and edges. This is probably 60 grit that I'm using here. And then repeat the process for the second half. This was a little flatter than the first part, so it didn't take too long to get this reasonably flat. Good enough. And there you can see the two halves that will go together. Still showing some of the original rafter marks that these were probably floorboards, and you can see those cross white marks, probably where lath and plaster was. This is a peg that's going to hold the two halves together, and these are called buttons that hold the tabletop to the ledge. Here I'm staining the poplar to match the color of the legs. Couple of coats of polyacrylic finish. Here the buttons are going in place to connect the tabletop to the skirt, and the buttons are held to the tabletop by threaded inserts. This is the center section where bolts will go through, and those slots will allow the table to expand in different climates. Finishing coat there, you can see that I was applying, and it's always important to mark your items that you make. And here's the finished table. Biggles approves. We were tempted to keep it and not give it to the client, but it looks great. Thanks for watching.